Today is 8th March. Russia-Ukraine war enters the 13th day. When Putin started his war, he was willing to run any risk necessary to keep from having a free, independent and prosperous Ukraine on the Russian border, where the Russian people can see, hear, touch and taste what freedom is like, often in their own language and from their own relatives. How Putin started the war and how he sent his troops. Putin sent his troops in disguise with white peace monitor symbols and Ukrainian police uniforms. Troops entered Ukraine from Belarus were disguising themselves in Ukrainian military and police uniforms. Russian forces used insignia of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe to descend on several cities in the Luhansk region. Some troops made their way into Ukrainian towns by dressing up as peacekeepers. This shows how low the morale of the Russian troops is and how unethical the regime is. Russia's invasion is now not going according to the plan of its leader Vladimir Putin, who had overestimated the capacity of how he might be able to prosecute this illegal war. His plan is collapsing. Many Russians, like people across the world, are against Mr. Putin for the full-scale assault against a country often referred to as a brotherly nation. Russians are depressed and broken by the Russian military action. There is no support from the common people in Russia for Putin. Even the soldiers are not interested in the war as their families and relations live in Ukraine. A video was shared on Ukrainian channels of a captured Russian soldier apparently being freed by the locals. The post says he burst into tears when he was allowed to video call his mother. So many of these troops are just teenagers with absolutely no clue what this war is really for. The Ukrainians behaved in the real Christian way by treating the captured Russian soldiers who came to bombard their place by sheltering him and caring for him. This shows the real moral strength of Ukrainians at this time of Lent. Ukrainian President Zelensky now spends his days underground, in bunkers and basements, emerging every now and then to rise the nation's spirit, often on social media. In one video message, he shares a meal with few of his troops, bread with salami, sprouts and instant coffee. He is with the people, among the soldiers and for the country. In contrast to Putin, Zelensky is loved by his people and has the mass support. Several people opted to leave Russia in recent days for a number of reasons, including frustration over the country's economic situation, its growing isolation on the international stage, and muzzling of few remaining critical voices in the media. Russian President Vladimir Putin intensified a crackdown crackdown on media outlets, blocking Facebook and Twitter, and signing into law a bill that criminalized the intentional spreading of what Moscow deemed to be fake reports, with 15 years imprisonment. TikTok, Netflix, and American Express Co. have suspended their operation in Russia and Belarus. Russia had launched about 600 missiles since the start of the invasion and deployed into Ukraine about 95% of combat forces it had pre-staged outside of the country. Russian forces continue to try to advance and isolate Kiev, Kharkiv, and Chernihiv, but are meeting strong Ukrainian resistance. Russia's failure to seize Mykolaiv and other cities quickly, as President Putin of Russia appears to have intended, is largely a result of its military flattering performance. Russians' forces have suffered from logistical snuffers, baffling tactical decisions, and low morale. Putin did not expect Ukraine would get such support from NATO and the European Union and the world at large. Japan, South Korea, Australia, and Canada are all supporting Ukraine. The United States and Canada halted approval of the Nord Stream 2 Baltic Sea natural gas pipeline project designed to double the flow of Russian gas to Germany, which is a blow to Russian gas business. There is full support among NATO countries. Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, the United Kingdom, and the United States. It is the cause of the most massive support for Ukraine from the United States and the United Kingdom. This helps Ukraine for deterrence and defense. The present situation has eased out the procedure for the countries to join the European Union, to get all sort of support from any sort of aggression from anywhere. This is a shock to Mr. Putin, as most of his neighbors could seek the European Union membership to be in a safe sanctuary. Since the Russian aggression started, European Union member states including Poland flung its borders open to take in war refugees from Ukraine. European Union refugee policy reversal is yet another blow to Putin. The economic sanctions against Russia by most of the countries, including New Zealand and South Korea, makes now Russia think twice before the next move. The United States and European allies are exploring banning imports of Russian oil, which will be a big blow to Russia's economy. All the countries are calling back their nationals from Russia. Putin feels like family members leaving his house, leaving him alone to face the situation with no umbrella cover. EU refuses entry to Russian airplanes, including the private jets of the country's oligarchs. Putin was shocked when he learned that NATO members can now send fighter jets and ship to Ukraine. The war is now changing its face. Russia-Ukraine war is now a war of EU or NATO against Russia. Most of the leaders all over call all the national leaders to join the effort to stop Russia's invasion of Ukraine, warning that the world was in danger of being reshaped by an arc of autocracy. G7 countries said they would hold accountable those responsible for war crimes, including disguised entry by the troops, and refused to recognize any Russian territorial gains. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has profoundly changed Europe's security outlook, including the Nordic neutrals, Finland and Sweden, where support for joining NATO has surged to record levels. Putin did not expect this to happen. The attack on Ukraine prompted both Finland and Sweden to break with their policy of not providing arms to the countries at war by sending assault rifles and anti tank weapons to Ukraine. For Sweden, it is the first time offering military aid since 1939 when it assisted Finland against the Soviet Union. EU countries had already cut several Russian lenders from the SWIFT banking system, curbed trade with Moscow, and targeting some of the wealth held by Russian oligarchs in the West. Russia's access to the International Monetary Fund is curbed. That is a radical change in China's relationship with Russia. As Xi understands that there is a little to gain globally and much to lose by backing Russia. Xi tries to walk the line between supporting Russia and rebuilding friendly relations with the West. China's ambition depends on open world economy, and if democracy supporting nations choose to push Russia supporting China further away, it will be a loser, hence tries to insulate itself. China is certainly shocked how the European Union and the US came together purposefully and forcefully to freeze Russia. While China has lifted some trade restriction on Russia and is expanding pipeline capabilities to bringing more natural gas from Russia into the country in support of Putin. Russia's exclusion from the SWIFT system was international banking has shocked Beijing leadership, and this has come up as a litmus test. Putin now clearly understood the Chinese stand, and he is afraid as he left alone to face it. He understands he is isolated. It's Putin's war, and only Putin can end it. As almost no chance of Russia winning a long-term war with Ukraine. Moscow's military is much stronger, but in the long run, it will be difficult for Russia to hold on to the cities it has seized. That's because a large majority of Ukrainians despise the Kremlin for its aggression and will fight back. The head of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis, said facing thousands of people, with many holding Ukrainian flags or placards with messages of solidarity with the country under attack. True happiness and freedom do not lie in possessing, but in sharing, not taking advantage of others, but in loving them, not in the obsession of power, but in the joy of service. Hence now, Putin is waiting for a situation to stop without affecting his ego. It could be he is waiting for those countries who abstained from voting in UN Security Council to take the initiative and speak with him for negotiation and for cessation of hostilities. As the overall geopolitical position is worsening, Putin is scared and is now open for discussion and negotiation.